It's a common trope to see have a racist, and you'll have someone that he is fond of the race he disfavors, and they'll say, he's this one of the good ones. When you think about the phrase, never ask a white supremacist what his wife's race is. Well, apparently they're all married, but never mind that. And people get confused, saying like, well, how can he still be racist? Like, it's being completely illogical. I just want to think about that. I was thinking, there's really two kinds of racism, you can say. Think about Martin Luther King Jr.'s quote about people judging people on the color of their skin versus the content of their character. You got one type of racist that judge people on the color of their skin. Now, you got the other kind of racist, which judges people on the content of their character, but incorrectly assigns people, judges people's character based on their skin color. I would like to say, I haven't done any research on this, but a lot of the people that are considered racist in popular culture are really the second kind of racist. Because think about it, why would you be racist? No one really cares about skin color. It's maybe some like aesthetic preferences, but no one's really gonna be judging people based on that. So what are the reasons? Well, you could have, I want to say the word is ontological, value differences. Like Mormonism used to say that black people were inherently inferior just based on their character. That would be an example of that. And then there's like collective guilt reasons. And this is what ends up usually being the first kind of racism. Then there's evolutionary type racism. And that usually ends up being the second kind. Because what they're saying is, well, they're inferior based on they don't have the same intelligence. They don't have the same character traits. It's part of their nature to take these actions which are bad, for example. So we get back to the statement, well, or the question, like, how can these people still be racist when they say, well, there's these people that of that race that they are fond of? Well, the reason is because the exception is like, yeah, they have a tendency to be inferior. Like, you can't say this for ontological inferiority. You can't say this for collective guilt, necessarily, unless they're doing something to, remedy that, like reparation nonsense. But for the evolutionary type racism, you could say that. It's like, well, there's some mutation or whatnot. So this person is better because they only really care about the outcome. And it's like, well, these type of people always generate this, not always, but have a tendency to generate this type of outcome. But, I have a few exceptions here and there, but it doesn't disprove the general consensus. Is what their argument is. But having that knowledge means, or understanding their position is important in order to combat their position. You can't just be incredulous saying, oh, well, you clearly think these people aren't bad, like, why can't you? And you have to instead say, well, look, see, this here is a trope. It's very common. Since it's common, you have to think, well, maybe your experience is not an uncommon experience, therefore your data is flawed. So these outcomes aren't as common as you expect. So you can't take quite as much of a blanket stance as you're taking. Now, I had said that the collective guilt type racism was the first type, where they judge people based on the color of their skin. But then I also said that there could be people that were viewed more favorably if they were participating in the remedy of their guilt or whatever. And I thought that might be a little confusing, so I wanted to clear it up. The reason why it's still type 1 is because even though they're being viewed favorably, they're only being viewed favorably because they are taking the action which they are being discriminated against for. So even though the attitude is positive, the actions are still discriminatory. And that's how that apparent problem can be resolved.